Good afternoon, Debbie.
Good afternoon. Is that Joe?
Yes, hello. And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Age Expo. Just before I hand you over to our guest speaker, I'd just like to make you all aware we are recording the session for those who are unable to make the specific speaker time. Good afternoon, Debbie.
Good afternoon. Is that Joe?
Yes, hello. Sorry about that. These will be going onto YouTube for you to watch. We have lots and lots of people attending today. So if you're currently in the auditorium, feel free to join the Zoom directly by clicking Join Now to get involved with any interaction elements of the session. And it will also allow you to use the chat facility to ask any questions. And I'm now delighted to hand you over to Debbie Stott, who is doing a talk on when performance coaching needs a little extra help. Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks, Joe. Hi and welcome, everybody. My name is Debbie, and it's really great to see all of you here today. As Joe said, today I'm going to be talking a little bit about performance coaching and taking it to the next level. It does also lend to any other coaching arena. So today, though, I'm going to predominantly move towards performance coaching and how we can take that in itself to a new level using something called emotional transition coaching. So now I know most of you may have already heard, even have experienced performance coaching. And I'm pretty sure that some of you would have maybe heard of transition coaching. However, I can almost guarantee that virtually none of you would have heard of or experienced emotional transition coaching. Now, I know it's a bit presumptuous of me, I know. There is a reason that my confidence is fairly high on this, because currently there are only a handful of practicing qualified practitioners in the country. You may be wondering, what is emotional transition coaching? Well, there is so much information that I would like to share with you. Unfortunately, I'm going to only be able to scratch the surface today with the amount of time that we have. Before I get into it, I'd like my presentation to be slightly different in that I'd rather have a bit more group participation and interaction rather than just talking at you with a PowerPoint. I'd rather talk to you and with you as a participation, because that will form part of what we want to deliver today and how we'll do that. In order to do that, I'd like you to post maybe your questions or some answers in the chat, and we can then address them. Okay, so what is it exactly that we are going to talk about? Taking performance coaching to the next level. How do we do that? So the first question of the day really is, what is your understanding of transition coaching? What do you think that means? Please don't be shy, just put in any questions in there and we can work on those. There's no blame and there's no judgment in this room, and we honestly don't need war and peace. We just need some answers, just to be interactive. Otherwise you just feel that you've been talked to, and that's the last thing I want. A number of coaching modalities are out there. In fact, there are about 47 different types of coaching. I'm sure that there are a few more. And these range from things like sports coaching, business coaching, life coaching. That's just to name a few. All right. Why would anyone want to see a coach? What would be the importance of that? Put simply, coaching is really a process that aims to improve performance and focuses really on the here and now rather than on the distant past or future. It builds awareness, empowers choice, and it leads to change, unlocking a person's potential to maximize performance. And it doesn't matter what area that performance is, whether it's in your workplace or in your personal life, it really doesn't matter. It's pretty much performance is the general rule. A good coach will help you get clearer about your goals and dreams and what you're capable of doing in order to achieve them. Finally, and most importantly, your coach can teach you new ways of thinking and operating and new skills that will allow you to better reach your goals and create the career in life that you want, whether it's work or personal. And the key role of a coach is really to uncover the reason why someone may not be doing what they should. And I mean that in so much as where you want to go and what you want to do and how you want to be. You might feel like you're not quite reaching that potential and you need just some extra help. The last thing that we want to do as a coach is take away from an individual their opportunity to think for themselves and their ability. Coaching aims to produce optimal performance, focusing on specific skills and goals. People generally come to coaching when they feel like they either want to address an area of their lives, whether it's work environment in order to be better at whatever it is that they're doing, or in a personal capacity where things may just not be where you want them to be. And coaching is then to help you become better in any of those arenas. Okay, so where is the problem? problem is change. In order to maximize performance, one needs to change. So knowledge plus skill equals results. That's not rocket science. And this can all be done in what we call a transactional level. These areas actually address cognitive ability. You can learn anything that you want to learn. This will give you a new skill. You can develop your skill with more knowledge, and the outcomes are results. There is, however, another area that affects change, which massively impacts learning. It will therefore impact on your knowledge and your skill, which then ultimately impacts on your result, negatively or positively. For the talk I'm doing today, we're talking really the negatives, because those are the things that are going to hold you back. In a negative emotional state, one is really unable to learn. The negativity that surrounds it influences one's ability to learn. You can't learn when you're not in the right place for learning. So that in turn will impact your knowledge, obviously, and that understandably then has a knock-on effect that affects your skill, which then ultimately and finally will impact your results. Stands to reason. In order to work in the area, one has to work in an area that we call transformational. Transformational change comes from working in the area of beliefs, values, and identity. In some instances, coaching needs to be taken to the next level. It's just the way it is, where transformational change is needed. There are very few that have this skill. So let's elaborate. Let's explore the cycle of learning. There are 4 stages of competency. Now, if I get this wrong, people, it's going to go crazy. So you get unconscious incompetence. What does that mean? That means you don't know that you don't know. Level 2, conscious incompetence. You have become aware that you lack particular skill or knowledge. Conscious competence means you have learned something, but you still have to think about it in order to do it. And then we get 4th, unconscious competence. You've learned how to do something so well you can do it without thinking. So, for example, driving a car. We don't need to think about that. So based on some of this stuff, it's clear that there is obviously a missing link. Some of the changes are transactional and only based on knowledge and skill, obviously impacting results, which I've said before is not really rocket science. The question now is, where do you go if it's not knowledge and skill related? What if the part that is holding you back is actually the past? In order to change, one has to address the areas that are a problem and change them at the level of beliefs, values, and identity. So for this example, let's use confidence as an example, because I think everybody can relate to confidence. How many of you here have had a product or a service that you've provided and you've had 100% full confidence in the product, and yet you're still not reaching your full potential to deliver the product and the services? If you want to put in the chat whether you felt that would be great. Let's just have a look. Another example of how many people lack confidence in maybe the social environment. Okay. You've gone into a room, or you are just out and about, and inside you lack confidence. So it doesn't matter whether it's personal, whether it's work, confidence is the same. Or have you been in a situation where on the outside you exude this confidence and everybody says to you, but you're so confident, and yet on the inside it's 100% different story. Okay, there are 2 words that we usually use when emotional conflict comes into play: justify and rationalize. We overcompensate for our lack of confidence in a product or service and start telling ourselves what we call rational lies. But yet you're still supposed to be so confident. Regardless of what it is, confidence starts with you. So let's explore that as an idea. 0 to 7 is what we call the imprinting years. These are the years that you relate to those that are around you, your parents, your siblings, the caregivers, your grandparents. They imprint on you from that, in that age band. Between ages of 8 and 12, we now start to model, and we start modeling our friends, we model our parents, we model our friends' parents, and all those that we see around us. Between the ages of 13 and 18, we're now becoming adults, and we start looking at these things and building in our own perspective of what we learned prior to that. So based on this information, confidence then has got to start before 7, and then it's built on from there. Positives will never hold you back, as I've said. It's the negatives that will hold you back. So let's explain. In our formative years, it's basically me versus us. So as a human being, we evolve. The first big problem that we have to overcome is really me versus us. By learning to sacrifice a little bit of our individual freedom for the benefit of the group. So for example, sharing food, sharing resources so that we don't starve or, get eaten by tigers or something exciting like that. Coming from Africa, tigers is probably a good idea. As we move into our adult years, it becomes us versus them. The next problem we now overcome is us versus them, trying to see other groups differently from our own and as equal. That's why we have so many different views on different things, which stems from our imprinting years and the need to belong as part of a group. As a child, did something or someone maybe laugh at you that created either a positive or a negative experience, and that depended really on how you looked at it. For example, for this example, we're going to use negative because, like I said, positive isn't going to hold you back. B, this is your first step in your perception really as being undermining your confidence. And this is done on an unconscious level. Strike one. Let's jump ahead maybe to school. Let's say English. And you've been asked to stand up and, I don't know, read your homework. Okay, I'm pretty sure some of you are out there saying, oh my God, please don't make me read anything. Don't worry, I'm going to do that. Just look under your chair. No, there's nothing under your chair. We're now adding unconsciously to the foundation of perceived undermining of your confidence. This now is strike two. Rightio. Let's go. 1, 2, miss a few. I don't know, 99, 100. Let's jump ahead to your teenage years and the dreaded hormones. You've all got all sorts of things going on, and we would really be lying to ourselves if acne hadn't maybe undermined our confidence. I don't know. So self-inflicted by looking in the mirror, or our peers maybe making comments. Okay, this is going to be strike 3. Now, strike 4. You go out and you apply for a job, a couple of jobs. You know you qualified for them, and yet you don't get them. I'll guarantee you there is some kind of dialogue going in your head, and it's not going to be positive. Okay. Now you apply for a job, or you decide to become an entrepreneur, and you get this job that you really, really want, and you started this business maybe that you really, really wanted to do, and now you have to apply yourself in front of people. What happens next? Let's say on a social level, you go out and you want to mingle with people, and you go out, boom, awkward, you're not feeling yourself, you've got all this internal dialogue going on, and you're feeling really upside down. What's coming up? Yeah, you got it, the past. So what is the prime directive of the unconscious? It is to keep you emotionally, physically, and mentally safe. So the embarrassment or whatever emotion came up as a result of strikes 1 through 4, the unconscious brings forward to keep you safe in a way that it feels is safe for you. Probably an easier example to explain this would be, for example, the fear of heights. This is generally a man thing, so I apologize. Women are guilty of it, so I know I'm guilty of it too, so there you go. But let's just say a parent takes their child for a visit to the Grand Canyon, and very excited, picks up the child, scoops him up and says, right, come on, look at the edge. This view is amazing. And the child is not ready for that. The internal environment hasn't caught up to the external environment. And so the kid's kicking and screaming, okay? The unconscious kicks in and goes, whoa, we're now going to be afraid of heights. That was just built in to keep you safe. So the next time you see heights, you get, not go in there, physically safe. So this is how our unconscious works. Okay, so with that in mind, can you see how potentially the past will undermine your confidence, regardless of what you're currently doing now, regardless of the fact as an adult, you go, okay, this is really not the way it should be. And yet you can't move forward from that. You can go to as many coaches as you like. Unless you deal and address that, we're going to have problems. So really, how is this relevant then to performance coaching and any other coaching? Because confidence is not necessarily a knowledge or a skill. Specific skills and knowledge to achieve goals and outcomes are great. And this is where the missing link is. Because if there is a block, how do you bypass that? Okay, it's more acceptable to have a coach or a mentor in all areas of life. We know that the media is full of celebrities that have been coached or have mentors in their personal lives. What's the difference between coaching and mentoring? Coaching leads to teaching, and mentoring is inspiring. So we leave it at that. And you've got to go into an area that delivers for the specific points that you need in your life. The other side of it is therapy and the stigmas that are attached to therapies. So unfortunately, there is that bridge, that gap between what's holding you back and it being an emotional issue. Because when it becomes an emotional issue, a coach can't go there. So you land up going to a therapist, which then puts you in the world of the mental health. When you're in the world of mental health, you land up with a footprint. Now, sometimes that footprint, you don't need that footprint. And I know that that sounds really out there. I know that it works like that because I've been involved with holistic mental health for over 12 years. So I know that there are certain things that can be changed. Don't get me wrong, mental health is definitely an issue. There are some things that don't need a mental health footprint. Okay, that leaves traces, and I'll give you a little story in a minute. Performing at work can be held back. I have had a client who lost her father 4 years ago, and it has seriously impacted her work because the anxiety and the stress on the back of that has always been playing in the background. So when she goes to work, unfortunately, even when they say leave your past, your life, your home at the door, it's not always possible. And then you land up with triggers. Okay, this can result in conflict at work. How do we change that? Performance coaching is not going to help that. Disciplinaries are not going to help that. You need a skill to be able to do that. And for most coaches, performance coaches and all, do not have the skill to address these emotional elements to change. So enter emotional transition coaching, the missing link to performance coaching and coaching as an overall. So let's explore something that is fundamental to understanding what it is that's holding you back. So we have what we call trigger driver behavior. And for this example, I'm going to work with, imagine being at work and the boss has bothered you for some reason, and the boss has absolutely triggered you. Straight away on the back of that, you flare up with an emotion, which will then drive a maladaptive behavior. And we think it's the boss. The boss is the problem. What if it's not the boss that is the problem? What if through your life you gather experiences? So you learn through life how to be an adult, how to have moral standards, how to do everything in your life. You learned from the age of 0 and you've carried that through. Now, for this, we're only using negative emotions. On the back of these learnings, you're going to have created some negative emotions. You will have created positive. They're not relevant for us today. And on the back of those negative emotions, you have now adapted behaviors that will either get you what you want or get you in the direction of where you want to go. It's actually this pot that triggers off the emotion, which then creates the maladaptive behaviors. Okay, so now let's imagine for a minute that this pot, because it's negative, it is volatile. So the trigger, let's imagine, is a flame, and this volatile pot is a pot of petrol, for example. If that pot is full, which has created this trigger behavior, it would stand to reason you would need to wriggle it a bit for that petrol to come out. If that petrol comes out and the trigger is a flame, what's going to happen? You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that that's just going to go boom. And that's what's happened here. So the trigger has created this boom effect, creating these behaviors. You know, sometimes you look at it and you go, wow, that was a bit a sledgehammer to the fly scenario. Who needs a sledgehammer to kill a fly? But if this pot is that full, that explosion can create that. So emotional transition coaching works on the petrol. And what we do is we work to reducing the negativity and reducing the petrol in the petrol can. And what we then do is we extinguish the flame, which then allows a gap between the emotion and the behavior. It gives you some thinking time before you just do these maladaptive behaviors. So in a nutshell, it's a lot longer than that. There is a lot more we can go into it. But for this time frame that we have, that's probably the best. So how does the unconscious work then? How does it operate? So let's imagine for a minute that we are a ship. Okay, so our conscious mind is the captain, all right, leading us, right, you've got to turn here because we can see this is the visual. Our body is run by the crew, same as the ship. Now, anyone here today had to go, oh, I haven't told my heart to beat today. Is there anyone out there that's gone, oh my gosh, you haven't breathed for the last 2 hours? Okay, that's the area that the crew work in. You don't have to think about that. Oh, we do think about it when we stop. But there you go. When we stop, that's when the problems start. So imagine now, I don't know, the ship is running low on fuel. The guy who heads up the engine room will make a call through to the captain and say, right, we're running low on fuel. Kitchen might ring up and say, we're running low on lettuce leaves. There were a lot of vegetarians here that like salad and the weather's really hot. So we got to make a pit stop. Tell the captain. Okay, I don't know, the laundry room has run out of laundry detergent. But the crew check in and give the captain guidance. Now, people, let's imagine that we're the Titanic. What happened when the captain did not listen to the crew? We all know the answer to that. Our bodies are no different at all. So when you consider coaching, whether it's work-related, social, or personal, in order to move forward, whatever the block is, it needs to be neutralized. Otherwise, all you're going to do is distract, you're going to manage, or you're going to try and cope. Now, these are generally just temporary fixes, especially if it's a deep-rooted problem. So think for a minute that your life flows like a river. It's coming down the hill and it comes across a big, huge boulder. Okay? Like a river, we will take the path of least resistance. So we'll either go to the left, we'll go to the right, or we'll go over it. But the boulder still stays in the middle of the river. All it's doing is it's impacting the flow. And that's what happens with our lives. That boulder is your block. And what emotional transition coaching does is it removes the block. It takes the boulder out the river so that we can now free flow back down to the bottom of the river. Okay, so can you see now how the past can impact the present? How many people actually resonate with what I've said so far? If you resonate with what I've said, put yes or no in. If you've experienced maybe a disproportionate, spontaneous emotional reaction to something and then afterwards wondered why you needed a sledgehammer to swat the fly. Thanks, guys. So being part of a group or something you really care about or you felt that you belong to, you will defend it. And when someone speaks badly about it, you will defend it based on your past. And guess what? Out comes the sledgehammer because it has a meaning to you on an unconscious level. And it feels like a personal attack on your identity. And it is all about self-identity. And so depending on the amount of negativity that is surrounding the problem or the issue, will depend on how much emotion is attached to it and to the reaction. So we want to be less reactive and instead we want to respond in a proactive manner. It's going to be much healthier, much better for you as an individual. So how many times have you said to yourself, frickin' hell, how the hell did that and where the hell did that come from? Boom, that was just disproportionate. So can you see now how where it might have originated from? Emotional transition coaching can help you understand and neutralize these negative emotions, the trigger drives, the behavior, and the maladaptive, unhelpful behaviors that you might be presenting. And this is going to stop you from achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve, both in your personal life and in your work life. So in life, we recognize that, we all need some form of coaching, performance coaching, regardless of personal, business, work, it doesn't matter. The missing link is about the areas that are not getting the desired results and the blocks. Sometimes you just can't put your finger on it. Don't know what it is. I just don't seem able to move forward. And like I said earlier, sadly, the path that needs addressing falls under the banner of mental health. And this is partly, I would suspect, the reason why so many people get so little attention on it. Because, if you're anxious or depressed or sad, this does not mean that you have mental health issues. It purely means that your nervous system hasn't quite caught up with the conscious system and just needs a bit of time to balance. Like we said earlier with the unconscious and getting to the Grand Canyon, you just need to bring these two up so that they manage and they sit squarely. And the unconscious is happy that you are mentally, physically, and emotionally safe. Having a mental health footprint for anxiety or depression is not helpful, and it can impact the future of your life. Because once you have that footprint, therein lies the challenge. You don't need that footprint. I know from 12 years of experience, it can be got rid of. And this is a story that I read recently, and it just proves the point. There was a gentleman who had a dream for many years of joining the RAF. Unfortunately, in his earlier days, things didn't go according to plan because the relationships he were in were not supportive of him doing what he wanted to do. So he thought that being later in his years and in a more supportive home environment, he'd apply for the RAF reserves. However, due to having suffered from depression in the past, it had put a stop to it almost straight away. Even though he hadn't had treatment for a very long time for depression, he's had his down times just the same as any other person on the planet. But because he'd had the footprint for depression and having had no treatment for depression, with only a year till he was too old, that dream was just going to have to remain a dream. Okay, that's unnecessary. All right, because when we can bring these two up, and like I said before, emotional, in mental health is an issue. This is in no way about mental health. This is about changing some of the blocks that can get you to move forward. Let the mental health arena deal with those. Let us deal with the things that are stopping you moving forward in your everyday life. Emotional transition coaching really is a coaching process with a therapeutic benefit. What do I mean by that? It bridges the gap between coaching and therapy. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nurse. I just know that what we do has results, and it's proven. It is a results-focused and driven therapy process, outcome, coaching. That's all it is, okay? It bridges the gap between coaching and therapy. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a story of somebody that came to us that this is how I know that what we do works, and it's out of the mental health arena. It's proving to you how the conscious and the unconscious just need to be on the same level. We worked with a gentleman, and I'm going to be fairly vague in terms of details. The only details you really need to know is how it worked. So a gentleman came to us a number of years ago who had been in the Falklands War. Of his platoon, 50% died on the day. Of the 50 remaining percent, 49% had taken their own lives. He was the last standing person from his platoon, and that did create some problems of its own. When he came to us, he had been 6 years of no food. He drunk 6 to 12 cans of beer every day. They tried twice to get him off alcohol, crashed twice, and there was nothing else they could do. They had tried everything. There was nothing they could do for him. And then he came to us. They were literally just waiting for him to die because that was all that was going to happen next. So he came to us, the short version of the story. At the time, he had no relationship with his ex-wife. He had no relationship with his children. And he was he was on the mental health register, and he had no hope of coming off of it. Today, he has a very good relationship with his ex-wife. He has a very good relationship with his children. He has a very good relationship with his carer. In fact, he's married to her. He now has his own home. And more importantly, he is eating food, by the way. More importantly, he is off the mental health register. He went from they were waiting for him to die to he's living a fulfilled life. He was not mentally ill. He had some issues that just needed neutralizing. Okay. Now, as a question I'm going to pose to the group. In the years up to now, we'd worked with around 5,000 delegates, of which most of them were complex PTSD. The product was originally designed around PTSD, and it evolved since 2005 to what it is today. And it works with anxiety, depression, does all those kind of things, all the common blocks in our life. Out of 5,000 that have come to us, in excess, these guys came to us that had tried everything. There was nothing left for them. And they said to us, and I do apologize if this touches anyone, they no longer wanted to live. They wanted to leave because they had no other. Anybody that knows anybody that has had somebody in this arena, they just feel like there's nothing left to live for. They don't know what else to do. They've tried pills. They don't like pills because it puts them on another planet. When they don't take the pills, they're still on another planet. And it's rife. Out of the 5,000 that came to us, pop it in the chat or just whatever you want. It's easy, doesn't matter. Out of the 5,000, how many do you think we lost having come to us looking for work? And I'll leave it for a bit so that anybody that wants to pop an answer in the chat, and we'll go from there. Okay, Sarah and Kevin, you know the answer. You were here yesterday, weren't you? Okay, besides Sarah and Kevin. Thanks, Joe. Hi, Santosh. Okay, so yes, I know they are cheats, aren't they, Joe? Right, so, and I say this very humbly, we did not lose one, not one. We've never lost anyone that has come to us for anything, okay? And this tells me that it's just the blocks, it's these negative emotions that we want to get rid of, okay? We haven't lost anybody yet. Who does this product not work for? People that have got more reason to have a problem than they have to get rid of a problem. We did work with some guys who were living in a home. There was a group of 6 of them. They were drinking, they were badly behaved. They had every excuse because they were suffering from PTSD. The one gentleman's wife lived just down the road, okay? And they were getting a large sum of money every year to be in that condition. Why did they want to change? They didn't. And this works in any area of coaching. If there is no reason for you to move forward, it doesn't matter what anyone throws at you. You're not going to change, because you've got to want to change, and you've got to not have a reason not to change. So those are the only people it doesn't really work for. Why am I telling you all of this? Because there is a missing link to performance coaching and any other coaching. Sometimes the situation or the circumstance just needs to be reframed. So it might be something that is not really, really deep rooted, and having a conversation can change that. Have you thought about it this way? Do you know what? I haven't thought about it that way. I've recently had that kind of conversation myself. Oh, no, not doing that. Oh, actually, yep, thinking about it this way, that way, adding this and doing that. I went, okay, I can do that. There are some other issues. I've been through my own personal issues that have been really, really troubling. And I can tell you today, hand on heart, that had I not had the product that I have today that I'm sharing with you, I would not be sat in front of you speaking to you the way I am speaking to you today. I've had a very tough 2 years, and that's another story altogether. What stopped me performing? Okay, there you go. So the missing link to performance and any other kind of coaching is this skill to be able to address transformational change, working around beliefs, around values and identity. Just reframing or having a new skill or an additional bit of knowledge and understanding is not always enough. Sometimes you need a bit more. So when it's not enough, the addition of the skill of emotional transition coaching will fill in the blank areas, providing a complete package to address any performance coaching issues and help the individual to move forward on a permanent basis. So just as some of the things that I got from yesterday, limiting beliefs, okay? Limiting beliefs are given to you by someone else. You do not create your own limiting beliefs. So whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are correct. So your negative beliefs, so in the example of confidence, if someone's knocked your confidence, yes, it is your perception of that scenario, but it wasn't given to you by someone else. You accepted it from someone else's behavior, someone else's actions. And some of our limiting beliefs will create problems in your coaching arenas. Okay, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I am useless. These are just some of our limiting beliefs, some of our core beliefs that are unhelpful to us. And if you do not believe that you are good enough, guess what? It doesn't matter what coaching arena you're in, how you want to move forward. It's not going to make any difference if we don't get rid of that limiting belief, because every single one of us are worthy. Every single one of us are good enough. The problem is when you start comparing yourself to other people. I'm not good enough because that one is better. I'm not good enough because that one is cleverer. Okay. The only person that you should be competing with is yourself. No one else, because you cannot be better than anyone else. You can only be better than yourself. Which leads me on to another thing that came up around financial blueprints. Okay. Where did we get our financial blueprint from? We started learning our financial blueprint when we were born. For some of us that think differently, it was before you were born. But hey, that's a whole discussion for another day. Your financial blueprint, everything you learn, how you have a relationship, you learn from those around you. Your financial blueprint is no different. So here's a little example story. And I'm sure maybe some of you have read this if you do a lot of personal development yourself. The story is about a gentleman who was a salesman in a men's clothing shop. And the gentleman came in and he wanted to buy some clothes and he was very excited. His boss was standing in the corner and he wanted to prove himself. So he said to the gentleman what he wants. He said, I need some shirts. Oh, can show you the best shirts. So he got him a few shirts, put them on the table. Oh, you need some suits. So he went off, got his trousers, got the matching jackets. Can see I'm not too great on men's clothing, but hey, there you go. So he got the suits and he put them aside. Oh, we need a few ties to go with that. Oh, yeah. Put on a few ties. That's great. Oh, got to have some cufflinks. You know, the good old cufflinks because the buttons don't really look good. It's very zhuzh and posh to wear cufflinks. So we'll get a few cufflinks to go with that. And he's telling it all up. And he said, fantastic. He said, that'll be $1,000. And I said, okay. Pays his $1,000 and off he goes with his new little wardrobe. So he rushes over to his boss and he says, do you know what? I just sold $1,000 worth of merchandise. And the boss went, okay. He said, well, it was $1,000. He said, well, what stopped you selling? You never sold him any shoes. Yeah, but it was $1,000. You never offered him any socks. Yeah, but it was $1,000. Okay, so his financial blueprint at spending on clothes was set at $1,000. Great. The guy that was shopping, his financial blueprint could have been $5,000. When do you choose to stop selling? When do you choose to stop putting yourself forward? At which point do these things change? So the financial blueprint is a good one because we all have a financial blueprint. How many of us are out there in the workplace or have our own business and we're finding that it's not quite giving us what we want? Sure, you're going to have some blocks. You're also going to have a financial blueprint that you accepted from someone else. So how it works is really simple. How many of you would work 180 hours a month? You can pop this in the chat if you want. How many of us would work 180 hours, I don't know, for £3,000 a month? Yes or no? Go on, don't be shy. Not War and Peace, people. Just a bit of help, really. See, Sir Barrington is not having it. Who else would work for 3,000? There you go, Joe. Fantastic. Right. So if I said to you, come on, Santosh, give us a leg up here. Yes, no, yes. Fantastic. I enjoy my job. Just doing the maths. Well done, Sarah. So
yeah, I'll probably not stop over there, Debbie. I need 3 billion.
Like your financial blueprint, Santosh. Okay, so how many of you that have said yes would work 180 hours for £1,000 a month? Now, here's the big leading question. Do you think Richard Branson would get out of bed for under $1 million a month? And this, my friends, is the financial blueprint. So wherever it is, but it was given to you by someone else, you accepted it based on what you've seen before. How many of us have heard the proverbial? Because I've heard it. Money doesn't grow on trees. Oh, my mother's favorite. I'm the other fella. I'm not Rockefeller. Okay. So this is where our blueprint starts. And without getting rid of the blocks, that can't change. So what happens is, so you set your blueprint, I don't know, 3,000. If you get more, how many times have we heard of millionaires that have won the lottery and within a short few years, they're back down to nothing? So it's designed that your blueprint will If you get this much, it will bring you back down here. If you get less, it will bring you back up here. And it kind of keeps on this sort of play. Yeah, it might wiggle around a bit, but pretty much whatever your blueprint is, that's where you're going to stay. And it's generally this time that people start looking for coaches. I really want to do something else because I really want a business that's going to make me X amount. And I just can't seem to get to it. And I don't know why. I don't know what stops me because I know I can do it. So this is part of what it is. Okay. So part of the other thing is calibration and rapport. All right. Taking back to the river. If you don't know what that person wants and you can't calibrate. So here's an example. Do you know what? I really like you. I really think you're great. Unless you understand what that means, my unconscious is telling you something that my words don't match. Okay. And it's understanding this that then helps the coach. And when you say in this, you go, oh, okay, if you don't know how to question that and you don't know how to take that back, then we're lost. Then your coaching is back to coping, managing, and distracting. So with that in mind and time being what it is, there any questions that anyone wants me to answer? Because I'd like to answer those before I basically come to the end. No immediate pressing questions? Well, as I said earlier.
I think, Debbie, I will have some questions, but I'll hold my questions since we are going for a one-to-one. I have already sent a request to you to join us on a one-to-one.
Fantastic. I did see it, and I will action that, Santosh, once we finish the session today. That's okay. You happy with that?
Yeah, definitely,
Fantastic.
definitely. Maybe next week somewhere we'll try to just catch up on a Zoom or something.
That would be fabulous. Fabulous. Thanks, Santosh. So, as I said before, there are many facets to the emotional transition coaching and the impact that it can have on coaching, performance coaching, and any other areas. With this in mind, if you'd like to know more, if you haven't already, visit my stand on 496. I know today's the last day, Something Simple Coaching. Make contact with me and I'll be more than happy to just have a chat with you. Just, find out what it is and what's important. There is a Calendly link there and a brochure, all the usual stuff. Just give us a call and let's have a chat because everyone's unique. Everyone has their own unique requirements. So I'd like to say a big thank you for joining us today joining me today and for giving me the opportunity just to share a little bit more about emotional transition coaching. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Santosh, Sarah, Kevin. Thank you, Joe, everybody.
I liked your style of putting your, this barcode everywhere. So on your stand, you have got 2 places barcode. I can see barcode here as well. So that's
Santosh, I can help you with that, young man.
Thank you. I think if other people they don't mind, you guys can unmute yourself if you want, and any kind of questions for Debbie. I think Debbie, I would really say really appreciate your time for the last 3 days. I definitely did not manage to catch up with you over the last couple of days time, so today I thought probably I'll just jump in over here, say a big thank you to you. It was really great to have you on the show, and hopefully you have enjoyed the show. You have visited all other people. You have got some more people to engage with in next couple of weeks time. But whatever time I spent over here, I was watching in the auditorium earlier before I jump on the Zoom to you. So I think it's a great experience which you have got, great concept which you have got, and I'm sure limiting belief. I was thinking limitless belief is another topic probably. So those kind of things.
Whole new area.
Yeah, it always excites me, and you won't believe there is one chapter on limiting belief in one of the book, which I picked up in year 2000. I was doing my job in Johnson & Johnson, and there was a manager who was in transition period for 3 months, and the new manager was supposed to come, and I was right in the middle at that point over there. And then while she was leaving, she had a book called You Can Win, by an US author. And she said, I don't really need this book. If you want, you can just do you want this, or I can throw it. I said, don't worry, I'll just, because I'm very good in readings. I like reading, in other words. So I picked up that book. You won't believe, Debbie, that book, I still have got that book. Her name is still written on that book, Andrea Samsung. So that book is still there. And every time when I'm reading that book, it's 13 or 14 chapters over there, always something new comes up. you know.
100%. And that works because you will take on board the information that you are ready for in that moment. And this is the whole beauty of how we work. And this is why if you're in a negative space, you can't learn anything.
Yeah.
When you're ready, you know what they say. When the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
I think I was telling my team, you know, I think I've said them a couple of times, maybe 3-4 times over there. And I said to them, you know, law of attraction. If you think negative, you're going to attract negative. If you think positive, you're going to attract positive.
Santosh, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I am in the throes of writing a book that will be released next year.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Keep an eye out for that, young man.
Sure. How about, you know, so, you know, in your transition coaching, you might have touched base on this point, which I might have not looked at it, you know. So if suppose I say that, you know, we have got lots of businesses into our community, to be frank, 356,000 businesses now. And I think, you know, this thing which you have got, you know, the belief systems, you know, how we, you know, attract the positives or how much we can grow, literally it's depend on all our mindset. And I always say that, you know, first thing which you have to do is just go and change your mindset for anything or anyone, you know.
Absolutely.
Now, do you have those kind of trainings as well as a part of your?
Santosh, funny you should say that. I was talking yesterday to Rachel.
Okay.
And part of the conversation that I had with her is that I am only one person and I have a finite number of hours, and all of our coaches have a finite number of hours. And what my aim is to do is to get into companies with an HR department, and I want to train them in what we do, because by training them, the reach is much, much greater, and they can then deal with all the problems that come up. If it's really, really more trauma focused, then they can bring them out to us, because I will deal with the bigger things, your PTSDs, your different areas, abuse, all those kind of things. If this subject matter is a little bit deeper, at least then our HR coaches have got somewhere to go, and where they can signpost somebody that they don't need a mental health footprint. This is the part that I want to stop, because it's unnecessary. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who go, bring them to me and I will show you. This gentleman that was in the Falklands, they tried everything, you know, and he is now living a good, fruitful, fulfilled life. So I am looking to work with HR departments and train them in what we do. You're correct.
Well, I think, you know, that's a good way as well. But at the same time, you know, I have got some more thoughts as well, which I'll discuss in detail maybe in our session. Because one thing where you are, Debbie, you know, and I think you are in the very sweet spot at this point of time. Of course, you know, you have got 11 years of experience, you know, into this industry, which you're doing at this point of time. But frankly speaking, this is the right time for the knowledge industry to start growing, you know. COVID has shown people what other people can do and where the technology can take us, and what is the value of the knowledge industry. There are so many people, they are just selling their knowledge and power at this point, and, you know, survive during the COVID period. You know, people are selling the photography courses on Facebook, you know, they are selling, you know, their own knowledge and learning on, you know, social media, and trying to make their living from there. And that has shown people. One of the article I was reading that, you know, someone, you know, said by, you know, 2040, there, you know, knowledge industry will become one of the leading industry, like cybercrime and AI, similar is knowledge industry, which is going to top 4th or top 5th industry. And on a daily basis, the total turnover of this industry will be approximately 25 to 30 billion pounds. You know,
knowledge is great, Santosh, and I agree with you. I think part of what we want is for education. There's an area that needs filling around education. We can educate people to help. There are a lot of people struggling at the minute. And
that's where I was coming to, you know, in the discussion, which I'll pick up, as I said, in detail over there, because like you, Debbie, you have got such a huge knowledge, you know, and you are trying to pass it over there for the people. How about if we, you know, turn around this whole thing and start passing this to the people, and they can just replicate that and transform their life, you know.
That's exactly
I think, you know,
what I want.
When I was talking to my team, you know, I said, you know, forget about, you know, making changes to, you know, 7 billion people. Even if we can make a difference to one life, that's more than enough. You know,
it's a ripple effect, Santosh. When you make a difference in one person's life, those ripples go out. Now, what you've got to be really careful of is that if you do not put the positive ripples out, if you start throwing negative ripples out, what happens when it hits the sides?
Comes
back. So there is definitely, the last thing I want to do is sit with all this. It's a waste of time. Okay. There are so many people that need help and we can help. And I'm more than happy to work and help anybody, because I believe
we'll explore it, what we can do. If there's any synergy where you think that, we can look into it, because what I'm trying to do at the moment, trying to form a group of experts into their own areas, and then trying to form a kind of, you can say, a steering group committee or something, where we can say we are going to steer the entire business community, after post-COVID, something like that, so we'll talk about it.
I just want to help people. I just
Yeah.
want to help people to be well, because there's a lot of stuff going on at the minute and I can't do it on my own. I want
definitely.
Where we can help.
Maybe we can try it from our team, and see how it goes. We have got 8 people, 10 people in the team, so we'll start from there, at least over
And
here.
let's get started. Education's great. Knowledge and skill, transformational change is required across the board.
True, Debbie, very nice to see you. Thank you very much for all your time. As I said, have a nice weekend. And it was, I'm sure, not only us, the people who are here, but there are lots of people who are watching it live YouTube as well. On my laptop, your channel is where we are, it's already connected with my laptop, and I can see people commenting on YouTube. They are not even in our platform, they're commenting, liking, so
am I missing out? Shame, they must be wondering why I've not answered them, because I have no idea yet how to get onto that live feed. So Santosh, you might need to talk to me. I know Sarah and Kevin are having a laugh, thinking this woman, she might be good at telling you, but technology and me, I'm going to have a chat. Very good thing that I've got a friend who knows exactly how to fix that.
No, that's really great. So people watching directly on the YouTube, people watching from our auditorium over here, and great feedback for all the speakers which we had around 66 speakers, I guess. Give and take couple of them, but it was great experience for everyone is loving it. I got such a good feedback about you. Yesterday someone was telling, oh, Debbie is great, and I said, okay, I'll jump today, so.
Thanks, Sarah and Kevin. The check's in the post.
Well, thank you very much, guys. So Kevin and Sarah, Joe, I think you guys are really done great, so thank you very much for all of you. And have a nice weekend, guys.
Joe, you're fabulous, honey. Your typing skills, at least I can hear you on there, so I have no problem with that.
You're incredible.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. Take care then.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
You'll be getting emails.